Then the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister to him and to bless in the name of the Lord. By their word every controversy and every assault shall be settled. And all the elders of that city nearest to the slain men shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, nor have our eyes, whom you have redeemed, and do not lay innocent blood to the charge of your people Israel. And atonement shall be provided on their behalf for the blood. So you shall put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you when you do what is right in the sight of the Lord.
Thank you, Daniel. So, a sacrifice is needed for intentional murders. A sacrifice is needed for unsolved murders. Why is it important in verse 2 for them to measure the distance between the cities? Go ahead.
If there was someone that knew the slain person, they might have some evidence to present.
Yeah, if a person from the city knew the person that was murdered, they might have some skin in the game and provide some evidence, or help solve this murder. Yep. Why else was it important to measure the distance?
The jurisdiction of the elders.
The jurisdiction of the elders. Which elders would be providing the judgment and is doing the sacrifice? And thirdly, the sacrifice, they had to provide the cow, the heifer, that city. And it wasn't a broken-in cow or heifer. It was a new one that had not plowed the field yet, had not felt the yoke upon its neck. So this was a money-making animal they had to sacrifice, so it would hurt the city. So they were motivated to try to find the murderer more because it hurt the city more if they didn't. Because they had to sacrifice. Does that make sense? 6 and 7 talk about the elders bear the responsibility for murder. It was up to them to seek atonement. They have to find the murderer. The way the heifer or the cow was killed is important. Why is it important? Or what was the difference in this sacrifice?
It had to be a blood sacrifice.
It had to be a blood sacrifice. I looked it up, the cutting off the head versus the breaking of the neck. Either way, it's still different than a sacrifice to God. It was to cleanse the people of the murder, and then they washed their hands over it afterwards in order to proclaim innocence over the matter. That makes sense?
Let's say situation where Pilate washed his hands whenever Christ was judged.
Correct. Yeah.
I do not have anything to do with this. I'm out of it.
Yeah. Yep. Pilate did the same thing with Jesus. He washed his hands of the matter in order to proclaim innocence from the killing of Jesus. Thank you. Verse 9, the killing of an innocent was one of the most serious crimes for the Israelites. So there was no rest for the whole community until either the murder was solved or the sacrifice happened. They could not rest until that happened. One of those two things occurred. Questions or comments on verses 1 through 9? Beal, verses 10 through 14, please.
And thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thy hand. And thou shalt take them captive, and thou seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, but thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Then shalt thou bring her home to thine house, and shalt shave her head and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if thou hast no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her.
Thank you. So, the female captives, where are they from? Are they from Canaan? No, why? I hear
We're
you.
supposed to take any captives,
You're
we're
not
supposed to slay them.
You're supposed to slay the Canaanites, clear the land. So these are from outside the land of Canaan, these female captives. The importance of shaving their head. What's the importance of the woman shaving their head?
Shaming her.
Shaming her. What'd you say, Miss Rhonda?
I said submission.
Submission, or it's almost a symbol of cleansing from their old ways. It's a restart. She's getting time to adjust to the new culture after being separated from her family as a captive. The same thing here too, in verse 13. So along with separating her, cleansing her, they were ordered for her to put away her old clothes or garments. Why? Why else besides starting new? Yes, sir.
Well, everything that they're doing to her is to get her to understand this is our ways, this is how we live.
Mm-hmm.
You are our captive, but we're gonna treat you right, but these are the things you have to go through to purify yourself. And if you look at the timeline and everything, where it says how long she's allowed to mourn, being away from her family and
Mhm.
everything. And how long before anyone could take her as her wife is because she has to be purified. She has to be cleansed. And with that, then she's eligible for, guess what, coming into the fold.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, with that month-long break, she's being converted to the Jewish way of life from her old, to see if she make a good wife. But also, the reason for putting away garments and other clothing is because the clothing at the time, as well as her personal belongings she could bring with her into the Jewish community, could have brought forth some paganism with her, by her stuff, or revert her back to this paganism after she had gone through this process, corrupting some of the Israelites. Yes, sir.
And that goes back to, in past scriptures when we read how, they brought these women into the Israel camp and they corrupted them.
Mhm.
So this is the specification saying, hey, to make sure that we're not corrupted again and that our Father's not angry at us because we fell and started worshiping, doing things of that culture. It's another way that, hey, follow these guidelines, this will keep you from falling.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, this is a preventative measure to keep Israel in the right. Although we know later on in the Old Testament they fall away. Ahab marries a woman who corrupts the whole society. King Ahab. So these are all preventative measures put in by God in order to try to keep them on the right.
I like the way it values her right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just a piece of something or, you know, an object that, like she does matter and she has feelings and.
Yeah, correct. It does. It values the woman, the captive, too. It gives her time to mourn. It gives her time to adjust here. But I think it's chapter 23, we talk about how the Israelites weren't allowed to give back the slaves if a slave was free from a non-Hebrew society. But they had to give it back to their brother because they treated them so much better. So overall, they treat slaves a lot better from their own society. And this is just another example. Thank you. Thank you for these comments. Verse 14, we talk about causes for divorce. What are some causes that a man might want to send out this woman? put her away. It says one, straight up.
He found out over that month he doesn't like her.
Yeah, found no delight in her. You didn't like her. Maybe she wouldn't convert to the Jewish way of life. Maybe she's not able to conceive a child. But permission was given to divorce the former slave because you have humbled her. Now, what Matthew chapter 9, verse 19, verse 8. Matthew chapter 19, verse 8. We'll talk divorce a little bit. Now, divorce was never part of God's plan. But Matthew chapter 19, verse 8 says, He said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. So that's not part of God's plan. It's kind of like the kings in the Old Testament. They weren't part of God's plan, but they were permitted to have a king. Yes, sir.
But I think we're straying a little bit away from what the scripture is really saying. Because you're bringing up divorce, and in this context, it doesn't state divorce. It states that after a 4 month, after that you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall set her free. But you certainly shall not sell her for money.
How am I getting away from the scriptures by talking
I'm
about
not
divorce?
saying you're not getting it right. I think we're not seeing the full picture.
Yeah.
Because we have a captive, we have a slave.
Yeah.
It says you're authorized to go to her. It don't say you have to go to her.
Yeah, well, correct.
Because say if I was in that time and I already have a wife, why do I want another burden? Okay, brother, do you want her?
Mhm.
I've done everything that was laid out. So I think it's more than just divorce.
Possibly, I don't think right here though, because it talks about, and she shall be your wife, and you will go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife.
It says may go into her.
May go into it. So it's not.
It doesn't say
I don't-
you have to go into her.
It does
says
not.
may.
It does not say that. It does not say you have to. But you also probably wouldn't take a wife from every slave you captured either.
Absolutely.
But if you did, if you did want to take her as your wife, if you found her appealing, does that make sense? It's not saying every single woman that he captured would have become their wife.
Right.
It's saying that if they found pleasure and they wanted her to become the man's wife,
Right.
that these were the steps.
Absolutely.
The way I'm seeing this, they took a captive. He says, hey, she looks good, I'd like to have her. But no, you can't touch her for a month. You gotta learn something about this woman before you do anything. And that's part of the problems that causes the divorce. You take somebody before you understand what they will and will not do, or what you will and will not do with it. So I'm kinda agreeing with Kelly on that it not necessarily had they ever been married.
Yeah. And I might be missing.
She had the time there to mourn her parents. He also had time to observe her other than just on sight.
Okay, I'm sorry then. I apologize, Kelly. Is that what you're trying to say?
It can be looked at either way. It just-
I apologize. This is the way I took it. This is why Bible classes are so important, because we all learn here
Yeah.
from different perspectives here. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Right of the firstborn. James, you ready to read?
Yeah, 15.
15 through 17, please.
If a man has 2 wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both beloved and the unloved, and if the firstborn son is of her
James? All right. The right of the firstborn. A man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the unloved, loved and the unloved. If the firstborn son of her is of her who is unloved, then it shall be on the day he bequeaths his possession to his sons, and he must not bestow his firstborn status on the son loved wife of the most loved wife. So the firstborn is the firstborn either way, no matter which wife it is. So we talked about this a little bit Wednesday. So this idea may have been formed with the patriarchs in mind. So Jacob, because the firstborn always received a double portion of the inheritance. So Jacob, who did Jacob give his double portion to? Joseph. Where was Joseph in the line of inheritance? He was the 11th out of 12. But his mother was Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel. His firstborn son lost his inheritance in Genesis chapter 49, verse 3, Reuben, because he laid with one of Jacob's other wives, not his mother, but one of his other wives. So he lost his inheritance there. But it wasn't given to the next one, it was given to Joseph because he was the son of the favorite wife. And then Judah, Leah's one of her other sons, is where the Messianic line came through, is Judah. So maybe this law was put into place because of that, to try to keep them.
There's another situation there too. Firstborn was to take over the family. He was to provide for the rest of the family regardless of which situation. It was his responsibility to take care of the mother and the rest of the siblings or whatever. He took over the operation of, I guess you'd call it the business or whatever. It was family business.
Yeah. Buell said the other job of the firstborn was to take care of the family if something happened to the father. It was his job, take care of the mother, take care of the family, provide for them.
That's why he got the double portion.
And that's why he got the double portion. Thank you. So, here it discusses polygamy, but nowhere in the Bible is polygamy brought up without chaos. There's always some kind of dissension. Because what woman wants to compete for her man with another wife? There's always some kind of dissension when it's brought up. Debbie, you ready? You willing to read?
Yes.
Verses 18 through 21, please.
If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father, or the voice of his mother, and that they have chastised him, will not hearken unto him, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of the city, and unto the gate of his place. And he shall say unto the elders of the city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious, he will not obey our voice, he is blood and a drunkard.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. So, Christ discusses this in Mark chapter 7, verse 10. What happens when Mark chapter 7, verse 10, Moses says, Honor your father and mother, and he who curses his father or mother, let him be put to death. Driving us back here. They were put to death outside the city. So verse 20 talks about a glutton and a drunkard. A good for nothing. They're lazy and they're drunk. Verse 21. The stone here was not cast by the primary witness, which is the parents, but it was cast by the men of the city. Why? Because this is going against the custom set forth earlier. Why would God not charge the parents with casting the first stone?
Because the parents are the victim.
Yeah, the parents would live with that with the rest of their life, that guilt. guilt of killing their own kid. There was some guilt there.
It's also to send a message.
It's also to send a message. What?
This is what happens to you if you don't obey parents.
Yeah, to send a message. This is what happens if you don't obey your parents. Any questions or comments on verses 18 through 21? Kelly, 22 and 23, please.
Yes, sir. If a man has committed a sin deserving of death, and he is put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain overnight on the tree, but you shall surely bury him that day, so that you do not defile the land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. For he who is hanged is accused of God.
Thank you. So, verse 22 and 23, it says, deserving of death, and he is to be put to death, and you hang him on a tree. So the manner of being put to death is not by hanging. That comes after the death. Just kind of like just general deterrence throughout history. They put traitors' heads on spikes and put it outside the city. I use the analogy that the pirates in the Caribbean, they used to hang pirates' bodies from the walls to deter piracy. This is a deterrent. This is what happens if you're wrong. So the body was not cursed because it was hanging, but it got cursed because it had to be hung. Paul talks about this in Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. He brings up Christ. Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree. So, this is referencing how Christ, by hanging on the cross, took the curse of life for us in order for us to gain salvation. He's bringing what the Jewish book said back into the New Testament. The Jews of Paul's day took the hanging on the cross to mean he was not the Son of God, but this is deferred in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 13. Therefore let us go forth to him outside the camp, bearing his reproach. Let's leave Judaism behind and turn to the new covenant which Jesus just created for us through his death. And the body was only up for one day. Why would the body only stay up for one day in order not to defile the land?
Same reason for Lazarus.
Same reason for Lazarus. What happens to bodies after they die?
Decomposing.
They start decomposing. They bring flies. They can bloat and burst, defiling the land, making it unclean, bringing pestilence to the land.
In King Joshua, they took the king of Ai and they hung him on a tree, and then Joshua said, take him down, throw him out of the city, and then they heaped stones on him. So it had a double area covered him, so it didn't pollute the city.
Buell said in Joshua, they killed the king of Ai, hung him on a tree. Joshua said, take him down, take him outside the gate, and then bury him outside the gate.
That's in
Stones.
Joshua 8:29.
Joshua 8:29. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until evening. As the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his corpse down from the tree, cast it at the entrance of the gate of the city, and raise it up over it a great heap of stones that remains this day. They got the body outside the city, away from the people, where it could decompose and not spoil the land. Any questions or comments on chapter 21?
However, they still built a mound to remind people.
They still built a mound as a deterrent of rocks to remind people.
That was one of God's ways to remind people of what happened.
Yeah, that was one of the ways to remind people of God reminded people of what happened and what not to do and how not to go against his word. chapter 22. Alicia, 1 through 3, please.
You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and hide yourself from them. You shall certainly bring them back to your brother. And if your brother is not near you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it back to your own house, and it shall remain with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him. You shall do the same with his donkey, and so shall you do his garment. With any lost thing of your brother's, which he is lost and you have found, you shall do likewise. You must not hide yourself.
Thank you. So, we start talking off in chapter 22 about lost property. So, this is also a reference back because it's both sides of the coin. In Exodus chapter 23, verses 4 and 5, it says, if you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring him back again. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying under its burden, and you would refrain from helping it, you shall surely help him with it. So not only your brothers help them, but your enemies. And do the right thing. Don't ignore it if it's wrong. Correct it.
It's like the see something, say something kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like see something, say something. Yes. You correct it. At home, at church, at work, at school, you make the correction. Don't just let somebody go about doing the wrong thing, because by correcting it, not correcting it, you just set a new standard of what was right. Brother here is not his actual brother, could be, but brother is referring to Israelite to an Israelite. Miss Rhonda, verse 4. Verse 4, please.
Thou shalt not see thy brother's head upon his ox fall down by the way and hide thyself from him. Thou shalt surely help him to lift him up again.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, don't shirk from your fellow Israelites' needs. This is both literal and symbolic. Like, help the donkey on this road, but also help the Israelite if they're struggling, your brother. Lift him up. How does this apply to us? We should be doing like the Israelites, right? Everybody's not 100% all the time. If they're struggling, help them up. Give them a phone call. Gary, verse 5, please.
The woman cannot bear that which hath commanded unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abominations unto thy God.
So, don't cross-dress. It's an abomination to God. It's unnatural and against the distinction of man versus woman set by God himself. He set a natural distinction between man and woman. Don't cross-dress. Don't wear women's clothes if you're a man. Don't wear men's clothes if you're a woman.
Don't confuse people as to what you are.
Say again?
Don't confuse people as to what you are.
Yeah, don't confuse people as to what sex you are. Thank you. Jennifer, 6 and 7, please.
If a bird's nest happens to be before you along the way, and any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall surely let the mother go and take the young for yourself, that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days.
So, don't kill the bird, take the eggs. Why? For food. Why would you not kill the bird? It can reproduce again. It can have more eggs. Don't take all the eggs probably, because at one point it becomes extinct, but don't kill the producer of your food source. Daniel, here we go against verse 8.
When you build a new house, then you shall make a parapet for your roof, that you may not bring guilt of bloodshed on your household if anyone falls from it.
Thank you. When you build a house, make it safe so people don't inadvertently fall off. That roof was used as another room. It's cooler up there. It's used as another room. So build a parapet around it so that people don't fall off and their death's not on your head. 9 through 11, Beal, please.
Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with divers seeds, lest the fruit of thy seeds which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled. Thou shalt not plow with an ox or with an ass together. Thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts, as of wool and linen together. Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four corners of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself.
Thank you. Don't mix the food sources. Don't create hybrids. Might be for some dietary restrictions that the Israelites had set upon them by God. But they also were supposed to be different from their neighbors in all aspects. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 19, it says, "You shall keep my statutes. You shall not let your livestock breed with another kind. You shall not sow your field with mixed seed, nor shall a garment of mixed linen and wool come upon you." Just reinforcing that. And he mentions tassels on the clothing in verse 12, on the four corners of the clothing. Why was this specific piece of clothing mentioned, the tassel? If we go back to Numbers chapter 15, verses 37 through 41, it talks about it. It says, "Again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel. Tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a blue thread in the tassels of the corners. And you shall have the tassel, that you may look upon it and remember the commandments of the Lord and do them, and that you may not follow harlotry to which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined, and that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy for your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God." What's the purpose of the tassel?
Remembrance.
Remembrance. Remember how we got here. Remember who I am. Remember what I've done for you. James verses 13 through 21.